Shalom Temple Israel, Shana Tova. I hope you had a great Rosh Hashanah. I'm here in my backyard with Heidi, my wife. Some of you have met her in person, some of you have met her over Zoom. It's hard to move to a new city like this, isn't it?
We're loving it though.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's good.
we're fans.
We're big fans of Charlotte. Many of you joined us for Rosh Hashanah last week, and while I can stand up on the bima and do Shachrit for Rosh Hashanah on the spot, on the fly, there's one thing that I am really scared of doing, and that's reading kids' books, little stories to children. And Heidi, on the other hand, is really great at that because Heidi is a special ed teacher and spends a lot of time telling stories.
And I taught third and first grade for a while, so.
It helps.
And Claire Rose gets 3 nightly stories. And Julia likes books too.
You have a lot of practice, in
Yes,
other words.
daily practice.
Daily practice. And we wanted to share a story that we absolutely love that I always think about before Yom Kippur. And it's called Almost a Minion. So I'm going to step aside and let Heidi share this beautiful story with all of you.
Almost a Minion by Lori Klein. My family lives 2 blocks from the shul, and mornings at 7, it's almost a rule. Papa rises and heads out the door to daven the kibbutz, then head to his store. He carries his tallis and tefillin together. They're worn from his travels in all kinds of weather. One day you'll join me with all my prayer gear. Then gently he adds, the time's drawing near. His birthday coming. We live in a town that has just one shul, and even on Shabbos it isn't quite full. So mornings at 7 it's often the case. There's almost a minion, except for one face. Or maybe it's 2 and sometimes 3. In less than a year, that face could be me. I'm sure all rabbis know the dilemma. Getting close to a minion. You see, for a minion, we have to have 10 adult Jewish folks who are women or men before we can say certain prayers from our Siddur. And when we get 10, well, Papa's eyes glitter. For then we say prayers like Kaddish and Baruch Hu. There must be a minion to read Torah too. So each morning at 7, he heads out the door to daven and kibbutz and head to his store. He carries his towels and tefillin together, worn from his travels of all kinds of weather. And sometimes I watch him and fill up with glee, quietly thinking that 10th could be me. On weekdays it's hardest to get the full 10, but Shabbos each week they make minyan again. For my Zadie stays with us each Friday night, with kiddush and singing and food to delight. Then off to shul Zadie treks with my father, and though it gets dark, both say it's no bother. 2 months ago, Shabbos, my Zadie took ill, and Papa stayed with him a whole week until my Papa returned saying Zadie is gone. He lived a good life, and now he's passed on. All week, people gathered at our house each night, and we made a minyan by one's candlelight. And through every night, all 10 made a minyan. It didn't cheer Papa, in my opinion. The next several weeks, while they seemed rather odd, Papa would pass me and not even nod. Each morning I noticed that as he got dressed, a small torn black ribbon was pinned to his vest. Still, just before 7, he'd head out the door to daven and kibbutz, then head to his store. He carried his towels and tefillin together, worn from his travels in all kinds of weather. And though he said nothing to me, not out loud, I think he felt better in prayer with that crowd. One morning soon after he came to my door, his eyes held a twinkle. Why, what on earth for? My daughter, he beckoned, his voice like a song. Let's make a minyan, you can come along. But Papa, I reasoned, I'm still just a tween. That so special birthday we have not yet seen. Your Hebrew birthday, he said with a smile, began at sundown. It's been here a while. I jumped from my covers and scrambled to dress. My thoughts were all jumbled, my hair was a mess. I hustled to ready for what lay in store. Then Papa and I headed straight out the door. But once at the shul, well, I became frantic. I must admit, yes, I felt a bit panicked. I had the towel start to fill into dawn. I felt almost naked. What would I put on? I glanced all around me, but hadn't a clue. Then I looked at Papa. What should I do? Was Papa embarrassed? His eyes held a tear. He opened his bag and pulled me quite near. These were my Papa, said Papa to me, and each time you wear them, I think you will see. His tallest and fulfilling carry his spirit. Wrapped in his love, you can always be near it. And so we lay to tefillin, my Papa and I. At first it's quite tricky, and I felt quite shy. But once I was finished, I felt so connected to Zadie and Papa and all they respected. Papa smiled proudly, he teared up again. Then grinning, he told me, today you make 10. I know, you're not crying, I'm crying.
Thanks, Heidi. So, I said it's a kid's book, but it's actually a pretty serious theme, isn't it? Would you read it to younger kids?
I've had to explain it to Claire Rose a few times.
Yeah,
It's a bit confusing.
she has a hard time with that. What I like about this story, and the reason I think about it before Yom Kippur, is on Yom Kippur we recite Yizkor. In the middle of the very serious day, we recite the memorial service for our loved ones. And Yizkor is something that people take really very seriously. And this story reminds me about how our traditions help us to grieve, how our traditions help us to remember. It reminds me why Yizkor is such an important practice, that on the most important Jewish day of the year, we call to mind the people who came before us. So I wish I could say I look forward to seeing you all on Yom Kippur, but after Rosh Hashanah, I know that a whole lot of you are watching and participating and finding our online services to be meaningful. So this in just a few days, we are going to mark our first Yom Kippur together, our first Yizkor together, as we use our tradition to honor the memories of all our loved ones. Have a Shabbat Shalom and have an easy and a meaningful fast next week.
Shabbat Shalom.